What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to On the Clock. Fellas, we had a little bit better of a week this week. It wasn't an absolute train wreck like it was last week, but we had week 1 of the NFL. NFL is back. College football's in full swing. Didn't get that many great games besides a couple, but fellas, overall thoughts on the week. How did we do?
I did great compared to last week. I went 0 for 3 in the first week. I went 4 and 2 this week, so I'm happy. 2 for 3 on college bets, 2 for 3 on NFL bets. Not a bad week overall for me.
I was also 2 for 3 on both segments. I gotta go on here and apologize to Ziggy about the Bears money line. Kind of looked like a clown on that one. I got the quote I said in that. Betting on the Bears is the dumbest thing anybody could ever do.
Never doubt the Bears.
If anybody doesn't
line.
know, the Bears won 19-10 this weekend. So I should have a clown nose on for that one a little bit.
They reverse spreaded the 49ers, so
Never
a tough
doubt.
scene. But before we get into our college football locks for the week, let's take a look at that scoreboard. Dylan, you are at the top. I am right in the middle with 2 pushes to my name. And then there's Jordan just below us with a 4-5 record. So, fellas, not terrible, but let's hopefully we can turn it around today. 3 locks in college football. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Cool.
First, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's playing Ole Miss at home. It's plus 16. This sounds kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie to you. They played Clemson really well in the first half.
They did.
They did. And Jeff Sims has potential. He's not elite. He's not great, et cetera, et cetera. The spread's plus 16. That's almost a 3-possession game. They're at home. They looked like they're capable of holding their own against Clemson. So I'm going to lock in Georgia Tech as my first one. Second, Colorado at Minnesota. Minnesota's looked really good this year, don't get me wrong. And Colorado has also looked really bad. But the spread is plus 28. That is an absolutely massive spread for the 30th ranked offense in the entire NCAA, which is Minnesota. I mean, what? Minnesota's going to put up, 41, 42 points? You're telling me Minnesota's going to put up 41, 42 points and then win by 28? Not a chance. Colorado's putting at least 17 on the board, so lock that in. And then finally, Texas Tech at NC State, plus 10.5. I have Texas Tech covering that spread. NC State has probably been one of the more disappointing teams at the start of the year, almost losing to Eastern Carolina in their first game of the season. Yeah, they won big
Should've
last
lost to
week,
Eastern Carolina.
but not a great team they were playing. Texas Tech looked great last week at home against a top 25 team in Houston. Got a big win. They're 2-0. A 2-possession spread for this kind of game is way too much. Texas Tech's going to cover that, and honestly, I think Texas Tech's going to win that game outright.
All right, I'll go next. Those are some pretty good picks, Ziggy. We were talking about this before we hit record. I've got Oklahoma minus 11.5 as they hit the road. They go to Lincoln to take on Nebraska. I'm sorry, Nebraska sucks. Nebraska is terrible. I don't care about Scott Frost being fired. I don't care that they may be fired up and playing for a new coach, this, that, and the other thing. I don't really care. Nebraska is terrible. They just lit up 48 points to Georgia Southern. 48. Could you imagine what Oklahoma is going to do to this Nebraska defense? I certainly don't want to. It's going to be a massacre come Saturday in Lincoln. I think Oklahoma covers a 12-point spread in the first quarter, let alone the game. We're going to roll right on to Michigan State plus 3 at Washington. I understand it's on the road. I understand it's a night game. I understand the purple rain. I get all that. But I'm telling you, and you'll meet Jackson Bezdek just a little bit later, but he said when there's closer games, pick the better quarterback. And I certainly think Peyton Thorne is a better quarterback. I think Michigan State and Mel Tucker and that crew, they get it done on the road this weekend at night. Tough environment. Give me Michigan State. And my final pick, I hate to ride the wave because especially I said I'm not buying into the hype, but I do think USC will beat Fresno State by 12 points because at the end of the day, it's Fresno State. Like they're just not that good. And Caleb Williams is really good. Not a Heisman winner though. Don't get that twisted. But I do like USC. I do think they'll cover a spread at home, night game. I like USC. Dylan, what are yours?
I'm actually going to start off with that Michigan State and Washington game as well. I also had that plus 3.5 for Michigan State. Look, Michigan State, I had a little bit of a different look at this Michigan State game. Look, Michigan State has had 2 running backs with over 150 yards already this season in just 2 games, with 227 for their top running back and over 150 for their second running back. Look, Washington's defense right now in the first 2 games is ranked 4th in passing efficiency. Their rushing attack is ranked below 70. So I think Michigan State runs all over Washington's defensive front, and I think they win that game by more than a touchdown. App State minus 12.5 against Troy. Look, Troy, I like their quarterback in Watson. He's a great quarterback. I mean, he's performed very well for Troy so far this season. But look, Appalachian State just beat Texas A&M, a big SEC school at Texas A&M. So I don't think they'll have any trouble beating a team like Troy coming off that big of a confidence game at 12.5. I also like the over in that game. It's at 52.5. You want to look at that. Appalachian State, obviously, great offense. Doesn't have the best defense either. Troy, a decent offense.
I like it.
Yeah,
and the last one is the University of Georgia against South Carolina minus 24. Look, Georgia in 2 games has allowed 3 points. 3 points.
One was against
two
Stanford,
teams.
but still.
There one game was with Stanford against Stanford. However, they were up 30-0 at halftime that game, won that game 33-0, and didn't play a single starter on defense in the second half. And yet still did not allow a single point against Stanford. So I don't think they have a problem. I mean, South Carolina, Spencer Rattler, he played horrible last week. He played good against Arkansas.
He plays horrible every week.
He's
It's
not
Spencer
a good-
Rattler.
He actually
He's
played
not a good
decent. He
quarterback.
played
Not at
decent
all.
against Arkansas. Last week he played horrible. So now you're going to go against the possibly the number 1 defense. I don't think South Carolina has a chance. And that's going to be my locks of the week. And we're going to take it to break, and we're going to send it over our next segment after it.
Walking alone in a college town can be dangerous, no matter the time of day. Lawrence might seem like a small town, but there is still tons of crime that happens. You never know where and or when people are planning to attack, so it is better to be safe than sorry. Being by yourself is never the answer. That's why people should always walk within a buddy system. Having at least 3 people to walk with can help with getting home safer. Going out in a bigger group is definitely the way to go, so everyone can be assured they are safe. If walking home isn't an option, calling KU Safe Ride is the next best option, or ordering an Uber with your friends. Stay safe and always keep a buddy with you.
Welcome back to On the Clock. My name is Jackson Bezdek. Super happy to be here for my first appearance. Got a little bit of a hoarse voice right now, but we're going to get through it. Today, I've got my 5 best NFL prop bets for you guys for this weekend. We've got some pretty juicy ones coming up. We're going to start with a couple of dicey ones. First off, I've got Matt Ryan over 235.5 passing yards. He had a big week last week, threw for 350. Yes, it went to overtime. Yes, it was against Houston. But I actually like Matt Ryan a lot consistently. I think that kind of the stigma around him has hid the fact that he actually puts up a lot of stats every year. So I like him to get to 240, especially against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just gave up 300 to Carson Wentz. And I like Matt Ryan way better than Carson Wentz. Next, we got Matthew Stafford over 275.5 passing yards. I like him to bounce back big time this week, just like I like the Rams just in general to blow out the Falcons this Sunday. I think he's going to have a huge week, a classic Stafford, 320 passing yards, 4 touchdowns type of week. I'd like to lock this in. Next, I got Saquon over 70.5 rushing yards. This is my absolute mortal prop lock of the week. I couldn't even believe it was this low. I had to refresh the page like 4 times, but it actually is. He ran for 164 yards last week. They're playing the Panthers, who gave up 140 yards to Nick Chubb last week. Everything is just lining up for Barkley to have another monster week. The Giants have a lot of confidence after beating Tennessee last weekend. I like them to play really well, and I like Saquon to have another big night. Next, I got Darren Waller over 50.5 receiving yards. He had a nice week last week, 4 catches, 70 yards, and they're coming up against the Cardinals, who could not do anything with Travis Kelce. Not many people can, so don't really fault Arizona for that, but I don't think that their defense is as good as it's been in the past few years, and I like Derek Carr to find Darren Waller a lot this next weekend, so lock in him to at least have 50 receiving yards. Lastly, I got Austin Eckler over 98.5 total rushing and receiving yards combined. The Chargers always seem to play well at Arrowhead. I'm not really sure why, but it just kind of tends to happen. Eckler kills the Chiefs every year. The Chiefs never are really able to stop him coming out of the backfield, catching dump-off passes from Justin Herbert. I like him to have a lot of those, probably also 55 to 65 rushing yards. You add all that up, and that is definitely going to clear 100.
So, yeah, those are my 5 picks for this week, prop picks. If you're wanting to get dicey, lock in some props. I like these. Follow this along. You guys should have a pretty good week if you do so. Those are my bets. It was awesome being here. Hope to come back soon. And I think we're going to head to another break, so we will see you guys soon.
National champions deserve a clean campus. Don't wait for other Jayhawks to pick up your mess. Keep the University of Kansas clean.
Hello and welcome back to On the Clock. Finally, we're going to talk about NFL and who we think to be our 3 locks of NFL this week. I would just like to say that I went 2 for 3 last week, so I'm feeling pretty good about my 3 locks. But Dylan, I think we're going to want to hear yours first. What are your 3 NFL locks this
The
week?
clubhouse leader,
Yeah.
Dylan Vanderveen.
Big time.
Yeah, I was 2 for
Clubhouse
3 last week, so same thing. Same thing.
You're 5
My
and
first
4.
one I'm going to talk about is the Pittsburgh and New England game. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. The only reason Pittsburgh even won that game is because Joe Burrow tossed it to the wrong team 4 times. And
fumbled.
the Patriots offense
did
looked atrocious on Sunday against Miami. I mean, they didn't have any passing attack. Their rushing attack looked slow. They couldn't get anything going until the fourth quarter. And I can't see this game going over 42.5 points like it is. Pittsburgh, Trubisky played horrible in the second half when he was trying to keep that 20-point lead. And I just don't see that game going anywhere close to 50 points. Like I could see that game ending 21-20. I could see that game ending 17-14. But I cannot see that game ending in any high points. My next one's going to be Rams, 10.5. Look, the Falcons blew another league. It's getting pretty normal for the Falcons to do that every single week. But they should be 1-0. But the Rams just lost to Buffalo after a winning Super Bowl, and they're going to beat the Falcons by way more than 10.5 points in my opinion. But the line's 10.5 points. I would even take that past 2 touchdowns. The Rams are so much better than the Falcons, and the only reason I think this line's even close is because the Falcons almost won the game and the Rams lost. But the Rams lost to probably the best team in the NFL, so I don't think the Rams are going to have a problem against the Falcons this week. And then the last one I have has been a little controversial to some people, but I do have the Chiefs money line this week. Look,
No.
the LA Chargers have played well at Arrowhead, but the Chiefs looked scary this week. Patrick Mahomes, 5
Interesting.
touchdowns still without Tyreek Hill. Think about that. Without Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes tossed 5 touchdowns.
The Chargers look great too. Plus, they historically are great in Arrowhead. No, Justin Herbert's throwing for 3 touchdowns and beating the Chiefs.
I don't think
good,
Patrick
I
Mahomes is going
think-
to let them come into Arrowhead when everybody's talking about, hey, this team's going to steal your division straight in front of you. I don't think he's going to let him come into Arrowhead.
Dylan,
and
do you like
take
to
their
fade the
throne for him.
public? Do you like to fade the public? Are you a fade the public guy? Because 72% of all bets right now are on the Chiefs. I think it normally is a good strategy to fade the public, but 72% of money on the Chiefs, especially at home with the Chargers in town, that just kind of feels trappy to me. And you're taking money line, not spread, which tells me you're not that confident that they're going to cover.
Well, it's also a 3-point. It's also a 3-point
So
spread.
then take the 3-point spread. Why would you take a minus 175 money line when you can take a minus 110 spread? When it's the same
It could be honestly could be a 1-point game. I could really see this coming down the wire and being a
So it doesn't
being
sound
a
like you're that
38,
confident.
37 game. It's not
I'm
that I'm
with
not.
Reed.
It's not that
That's
I'm
just a
not
bad
confident.
block.
I think 100% the Chiefs are going to pull out this game, but I do think it could be a 1-2 point game like that.
Well, I can't argue with the fact that the Chiefs look really good in Week 1, and you can't argue with the fact that the Chargers also look good in Week 1, and you also can't argue with the fact that the Chargers play good in Arrowhead. Those are things you just can't argue with. But what you can argue is which team got better over the offseason. And I certainly think the Chargers are more improved than the Chiefs are from last year, if that makes sense.
I do. I agree with that, but I still don't think the Chargers are going into Arrowhead with everything over the Chiefs' head with the division and with this division getting so good. I don't think they're going to let them come into Arrowhead and win that game. I really don't. I don't think Patrick Mahomes will let that happen.
I think I'm ready to ride the Chargers wave. Not going to make it a lock, though.
I'm with you, Chargers.
All right, we'll go to my 3 locks real quick. Colts -4 at the Jaguars. Jacksonville sucks. The Colts are ready for a bounce-back game, playing another AFC South opponent. I like the Colts. Let's just go with the better team overall. And
Is that game in Jacksonville?
Yes. It is in Jacksonville, but either way, Colts -4. Dolphins, Ravens over 43.5. Like Bez said, that's something I had to refresh the page. These two teams are going to score over 44 points. No Kyle Fuller for the Ravens. The Dolphins lit it up last week. The Ravens lit it up last week. Doesn't matter who they played. These are two very good offenses.
I'm sorry, did you say the Miami lit up the game last week? They scored 13 points on offense.
It definitely felt like they lit it up, though.
It's 20-7 game. They scored 1 touchdown.
I'm telling you, they
defensive
lit it
touchdown.
up. They'll light it up. They will light it up, is what I'm trying to tell you. They'll light it up over 43.5. I like that one. And then this one, I'm a victim of riding a wave, but give me Vikings +1.5 at Philly on Monday Night Football next week. Maybe I'm riding a wave, but Justin Jefferson, second best receiver in football. Kirk Cousins, maybe not all that bad. The Vikings offense, maybe not all that bad. Their defense, it stepped up against Green Bay, but at the end of the day, Green Bay doesn't have that many offensive weapons outside of Rodgers and Christian Watson. I don't know. But we'll really see, and I think that this is a big prove-it game for Minnesota, and it's a big prove-it game for Philly, too, which is probably why the spread is so tight. But I do think Minnesota is going to come out on top in this game, and like I said, this is a big prove-it game for Minnesota, so give me Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm disagreeing with that last pick as well. I think Philly looked really good against Detroit. They gave up some garbage time points in the fourth quarter to the Lions, but they
Lions
still
covered.
They did.
I told you they would. I told you they would.
The
The Lions covered.
The Lions, man, they always cover.
Philadelphia scored 38 points on the road. Minnesota scored 20 at home.
True.
It's against Green Bay's defense, though. It's a little bit different here.
38 points is 38 points.
It's against Detroit, though.
Against Detroit's
Detroit's defense.
They're better. Yes, they're better. It's still Detroit.
It's still 38 points in an NFL game. That should not go overlooked.
You're right. You're right.
But with that being said, I have 3 locks to make as well. And my first one is Seahawks at Niners, +9. Seahawks cover that. Seahawks went and shocked everyone last night. They won on Monday Night Football, 1-0. Geno Smith had the best first half of his entire NFL career. Granted, second half was a little bit lackluster. Seahawks barely held on due to some poor coaching on the Broncos side. I'll give you that. Their defense is what impressed me the most, though. I mean, huge goal line stops, only holding Denver to 16 points. That's impressive. And the Bears held the Niners to 10 points, granted, in a monsoon. The Seahawks, 9 points, big spread. I like them to cover there. Honestly, I like them to maybe win. They've proved they can be competitive. They've proved they can definitely cover that spread. Second, I'm going Falcons-Rams over 47.5 points. I think those are two really good offenses. The Rams are probably going to put up about 30 in that game, give or take. And the Falcons, I can see them scoring 10 points pretty easily, 15 points. I mean, no problem. I think that game's going to go over. And finally, I'm going with another money line as a lock. Cardinals at Raiders. +205 odds for the Cardinals to win that game. Bounce back game. Kyler Murray with a huge game. Cardinals defense fixes some things up. I like it. Lock it in. I'm improving from 2-3 to 3-3 this week.
I'm not mad about the Cardinals, and if I'm going in a direction, if I had to pick something in the Seahawks game, I would look at that under. Not a huge fan of either team that way. But yeah, I'd look toward the under. But fellas, those are some good 3 locks.
What is the under in that one, Jackson?
What?
What was the under in that? Did you just say?
Didn't look, but I would go. That's where I would go if I was going anywhere, is what I'm telling you. Either way, thank you guys for tuning in, as always. It's always a good Tuesday. Guys, we're a little bit positive this week. Maybe we can go back toward
we gotta stay
undefeated
positive.
status. Yeah, we got to stay hot.
Keep improving.
Got to be sustainable. Thank you guys for tuning in on the clock. We'll be right back here next Tuesday.